Hey everyone, it's Adi. Today we're going to make a pot koozie for a little jet boil stove. It comes already with this, maybe you call it a cozy, potato. And since you asked, if you're a word nerd, koozie is actually a trademark term by a company called Radio Cap Corporation. Cozy happens to be the generic term for what was a koozie. So just like Hoover, Coke, etc. Koozie is a term just generically referred to for a cozy. Flip that around. Cozy is a term generically referred to for koozie. Similar to Kleenex. You don't say, pass me the generic paper facial tissue. You just say Kleenex, even though it may not be Kleenex brand. Anyway, they come with this little bit already, but I find it just doesn't keep the food that warm that long, and doing a lot of dehydrating and using freeze-dried meals, you kind of want something that's going to keep that heat in longer. So all it takes is a pretty simple layout, some protection for your tabletop, some scissors or a razor, a little marker, and some measuring instrumentation. Some simple reflectics, kind of the stuff you would get if you wanted to make a windscreen for a sunscreen for the inside of your car window. And then just some aluminum tape I had laying around from some various projects around the house. So I'll put some links down below in the show notes for it if you need to get any of those things. But today's is the jet boil. It's got some funny little ridges along the bottom, but I find that it helps heat really well. It keeps that heat in and boils much faster. The caveat with this thing is it's a little odd because the lid has these little pieces that come out on the sides. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut those off as we go, and then just kind of file down that little sharpness so that the top will fit on a little bit better. So the first thing we do is we're going to measure the size of our pot, how deep we want this to go around. And I've already measured it, but we want it to go just below the lip here. And so if you can see there, I'll flip it over for you. We're at just about 3.5. So I'm going to come just under 3.5 inches when I cut the reflectics. So we'll just open it up. We'll measure out just under 3.5. Make a mark. Just under 3.5. Make another mark. And you don't have to do this part, you could just cut straight down it. So I think actually probably what I'm going to do, let's see, that's 3.5. That's 3.5. This is where your cardboard comes in handy. You don't want to be cutting on your tabletop. If you saw under this, you'd see I don't listen to my own advice most of the time. You can use scissors as well. Scissors will cut this just fine. There's no problems. I just like to have this straight edge here to give myself a nice straight cut on it. So there we have the piece. We're going to wrap it around. We don't want to make this super tight. We want to have it a little bit of room. Wow, that's birdie. A little bit of room there so that you can slide it in and out easily. In this case, I think this is a perfect length. I thought I'd have to trim it down a bit, but you can see there's just a little bit of space in there. And that lets the handles fit, that lets it slide around, so as you go in and out, you'll be fine. And in this case, we'll just throw some tape on it, and we'll be good to go. Now when I put this tape on, I'm going to have it overlap over the top, which lets me fold it around and seal on the back side. You can tape all the way around if you want to. It doesn't matter. It's kind of however you want to do it. Just press it in there, make sure it's stuck real nice. I've got still a little bit of a gap here, so I'm going to put another piece of tape on there. Ta-da! Yeah, check. Fits right in. Maybe it's just a little bit loose there, but that'll be all right. Now what we're going to want to do is you're going to want to make a circular piece to go and be your bottom. So you just put it on there. I'll use this to give it a little bit of shape, make sure it's still a little bit round. And then just cut it out. You can stay on the lines, you can go inside, outside, just kind of depends on what you're after here with your pot. You may want it looser, you may want it tighter. You may just plan to use more tape and make up for anything. So, now if I were really trying to do something super pretty, I would go ahead and use a truly circular object, like perhaps the pot, and then maybe you measure out from that to know exactly how far your koozie is going to come so that you have a perfectly round circle. You can see we're not perfectly round, but what we are is perfectly round enough. So I'll go ahead and prep out a bunch of tape. We're just going to go ahead and lay pieces of tape across all over and bring this together. Okay, we've got all our pieces laid out. Now we just got to go ahead and put it together. Get some of this tape off of here from the shipping. Maybe. We'll see. Maybe not. I think it looks great the way it is. I was planning to leave it that way. Sort of feng shui. So you're just going to want to get it on in whatever location is most centered. I'll line up this edge right here, and I'm going to put a piece of tape on there. Press it down. So to try and make it as circular as possible, then just go to the opposite end, line it up, put a piece of tape on it. I think you're kind of getting the point here now. And we're going to go kind of halfway between the two. Carry on with the same. Isn't this great? Same thing on the other side. I think you can see a pattern happening here. Now we've got four corners. It's looking relatively round. Shock. And then we're just going to continue to divide between our tapes. And then we're going to divide and divide and divide until we've taped all the way around the perimeter. You'll notice the scissors are getting a little sticky. So don't do this with your favorite ones, your parents, your wives, or your boyfriends, or just be prepared for the wrath. Okay, once you have it covered how you like, just go around pressing inside and outside. Get that tape seated on there nice. Do that for the outside, and then do the same for the bottom. Right? So just press inside and outside just to get that tape sealed down. You can put your pot in, looky there. Just press around as well. Jetboil's got those funny fins like I mentioned, so it's a little bit harder to get the bottom done the right way. There you go, that'll fit you in. your lid can go on. However, again, I've got those silly little wings coming off the side, but I got something for them. Yeah. And just to avoid karma coming back and getting me, I'm just gonna file down the sharp parts of this. I just don't want it to cut my Koozie or Koozie. Okay, now for the lid, we want to make sure that it goes outside of the whole arrangement here. So I'm going to be using not the pot and not the lid, but I'm going to be using Koozie itself. Okay, now I've traced exactly where the outside edge of this is, but I'm going to want to cut just outside. That way I know it's going to be able to fit snug down over it. So I'll be making sure to stay, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch, a little bit more. I like to cut it a little bit bigger. You can always trim it down later. Can't trim it up. I guess you can trim it up with just trimming it down. Boom! Stay. Stay. All right. So now let's see how we fit. So now once you have this, it's going to fit on the top. We just need to cut a piece that comes around. So with your pot and your lid, don't be deceived, this is a pretty wide lid. With your pot and your lid, how you're going to have it, set this thing on. And then just figure out about how far down you want to come. You want to go a little bit past the body, and that's up to you how far you want to go. I'm going to go with about a 2-inch strip. So I'll measure up 2 inches. Make a mark. Measure up 2 inches. Make another one mark. Try not to get too high. And voila. Now in this case, when we made the original outer piece, we used the exact same size of roll, so or the exact length of this roll. So that could be a problem with us as we try to make this lid, because we actually want it to go outside of that circumference. So we may end up just putting a little bit on the end of this thing. We'll see. See there? It's not quite going to fit. So I'm going to need another little 2-inch piece. Give it a little bit of extra room just because I want to make sure it's a bit loose to be able to slide over easily. I don't want to have to play with it too much when I'm at a camp. Just want it to slide on and off. You're camping. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just putting the tape on the two ends Going to wrap around like this. And connect the two sides. In this case, with the extension. So now this should fit pretty nicely. Around the outside of the outside. Okay, same as before. Just go around, tighten her down on everywhere you can. This aluminum tape is really sticky stuff, so it tends to stick real nicely. Boom. Now, for anybody cooking things that need to soak a lot longer, maybe you got real pasta out there, you need to soak it a long time. Maybe you don't have a jet boil. You've got a stove system that uses a lot of fuel. Maybe like me, you got dehydrated food. You just want to keep it hot longer without just leaving it on a boil and leaving it on the stove. So this now will allow you to do that. You can just take your item off the stove, flop it in, slap it on.